There's something undeniably powerful about keeping your plans to yourself. Silence is often underestimated, but it carries a strength that words can't match. When you nurture your goals in quiet, something magical happens. Your focus sharpens, your energy becomes directed, and you begin to build a foundation for success without the weight of distractions or external opinions. It's like planting a seed in the soil. You don't rip it out every day to show people its progress. You let it take root, grow strong, and eventually flourish for the world to see. Silence gives your plans the space they need to develop without interference. When you share your plans too early, there's a tendency to feel a false sense of accomplishment. You say the words, and people react, sometimes with excitement, sometimes with applause. And that momentary gratification can trick your brain into thinking you've already achieved something. But the truth is, nothing has been done yet. That temporary high of validation can take the edge off your hunger, the hunger you need to fuel your actions. It's easy to confuse talking about your goals with working on them, but they're not the same. Silence keeps you grounded. It keeps your focus where it belongs, on the work, not the words. Silence is probably the best words to keep you on. When you're silent about your plans, you protect them. Not everyone you share your aspirations with will understand them. Some might dismiss them, others might question them, and a few might even try to discourage you. People project their own fears and insecurities onto others, often without realizing it. When someone tells you your idea won't work, it might not be about you. It might be about their own doubts, their own failures, their own inability to see beyond the limits they've set for themselves. But even knowing that, those words can still affect you. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind, and doubt is a dangerous thing. Silence creates a barrier between your plans and the negativity that could derail them before they've had a chance to grow. It's also worth considering the value of focus. When you share your plans, you invite distractions. Suddenly there are opinions to consider, advice to weigh, and sometimes even pressure to change your direction. It's easy to get pulled away from your original vision by trying to accommodate what others think. Silence, on the other hand, allows you to stay aligned with your purpose. It eliminates the noise and lets you channel all your energy into what really matters. Taking the next step forward. The world is already full of distractions. Don't add more by broadcasting your intentions before you're ready. There's a certain discipline in keeping your plans to yourself. It requires self-betrayal and a deep trust in your own ability to see things through. You're not seeking validation from others. You're building confidence in yourself. Every step you take in silence strengthens that confidence because it's rooted in action, not approval. You're not waiting for someone to tell you you're on the right track. You're proving it to yourself with every move you make. That's a kind of power no one can take away from you. And then there's the element of surprise. There's something incredibly satisfying about letting your results speak for themselves. When you stay quiet about your plans, you create the opportunity to amaze people with what you've accomplished. It's far more impactful to show the world what you've built than to tell them what you're going to do. Results have a way of silencing critics and inspiring others in a way that words never can. When people see what you've achieved, it speaks to your determination, your resilience, and your ability to follow through. And in that moment, you don't need to say anything. Your actions have already said it all. Keeping your plans to yourself doesn't mean you're hiding or that you're afraid to share. It means you're protecting something valuable. You're giving your goals the time, space, and energy they need to become real. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's about understanding that the most important work often happens behind the scenes, where no one is watching, where it's just you and the effort you're putting in day after day. That's where transformation happens. That's where dreams take shape. And when the time comes, when you're ready to reveal what you've been working on, the world will see the results of your dedication, your focus, and your silence. They won't just hear about what you've planned, they'll see what you've achieved. And that will say more than words ever could. Not everyone is going to understand your dreams. Not everyone will see your vision the way you see it, and not everyone will support your plans. That's the reality of life. When you share your goals openly, you're exposing something personal, something fragile to the world. And the truth is, not everyone will handle it with care. Some people, intentionally or not, will inject doubt, skepticism, or even negativity into the space where your confidence should be growing. That's why protecting your vision, keeping it safe from outside opinions until it's ready to stand on its own, is one of the most powerful things you can do. When you share your plans with the wrong people, you open yourself up to criticism. And while some criticism may be constructive, a lot of it isn't. Sometimes the doubt you hear from others is nothing more than a reflection of their own limitations. They might tell you your goals are unrealistic or too ambitious, but what they're really saying is that they can't imagine themselves doing it. And in those moments, their fear can start to creep into your mind. You begin to second-guess yourself, not because you've changed your belief in your vision, but because their words have planted a seed of doubt. That doubt can grow if you let it, slowly chipping away at your confidence. Even more subtle is the kind of negativity that comes disguised as concern. Are you sure you want to take that risk? Someone might ask. Or, what if it doesn't work out? Those questions can seem harmless, even caring, but they can create hesitation where there was once certainty. They make you pause, not because you've thought of something new, but because someone else's fear has made you question what you already know. And once that hesitation sets in, it can slow your momentum. It can make you overthink, delay, or even abandon the plan altogether. There's also the issue of jealousy. Not everyone wants to see you succeed, even if they say they do. Your ambition might highlight the lack of action in their own lives. And instead of using that as inspiration, some people will try to bring you down to their level. They'll nitpick your ideas, minimize your efforts, or outright discourage you from trying. And while their words might sound like advice or even tough love, what they're really doing is projecting their own insecurities onto you. That's why it's so important to protect your goals. By keeping them private, you're keeping them safe from the kind of energy that can pull you off track. When you don't tell everyone your plans, you're not just avoiding negativity, you're also creating a space where your ideas can grow without interruption. Imagine trying to build something delicate, like a sandcastle, in the middle of a crowd. People would step on it, knock it over, or disrupt your process, even if they didn't mean to. But if you're building in private, you have the freedom to make mistakes, to adjust and to improve without anyone else interfering. That's what protecting your vision is about. It's giving yourself the time and space to make progress without the noise of outside opinions. It's also about control. When you share your plans with others, you give them a certain amount of influence over your mindset. Their reactions, whether positive, negative, or indifferent, can shape how you feel about your goals. But when you keep your plans to yourself, you stay in control. You're not relying on anyone else's approval or validation to keep moving forward. You're building confidence in your ability to succeed, not in how others react to your ambition. That kind of self-assurance is unshakable because it comes from within. Protecting your vision doesn't mean you're shutting people out or refusing to accept help. It just means you're being selective about who you share your dreams with. Share them with people who genuinely support you, who uplift you, and who challenge you to be better in a constructive way. But even then, be mindful of when and how you share. Timing matters. A plan in its early stages is like a sprout. It's vulnerable and it needs nurturing before it can handle the elements. Once it's strong enough, once you've built the foundation and gained some momentum, then you can share it with more confidence, knowing it's less likely to be swayed by external forces. When you protect your vision, you're not just safeguarding your plans, you're also safeguarding your energy. You're choosing to focus on what truly matters. The work, the effort, and the actions that will bring your goals to life. By keeping your plans private, you're creating an environment where your dreams can thrive. You're giving yourself the freedom to grow without the weight of doubt, criticism, or unnecessary pressure. And when the time comes to reveal what you've been working on, the results will speak for themselves. When you spend too much time talking about your plans, there's a risk of falling into a trap, confusing conversation with action. It feels good to talk about your goals, to share your vision with others, and to hear them say things like, "That's amazing," or "You're going to do great." But the problem is, those words can create a false sense of progress. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the more it feels like you're already doing it. And the truth is, until you start taking action, nothing is actually happening. That's why it's so important to focus your energy on the work instead of the words. Talking about your plans is easy. It's exciting even. You get to imagine the outcome, to picture yourself succeeding, and to feel the satisfaction of what that might be like. But imagination and reality are two very different things. Words don't move you closer to your goal, actions do. Every moment you spend explaining your plans or seeking validation is a moment you could be using to take the next step. And those moments add up. Over time, the energy you've spent talking about your plans could have been used to build something real, something tangible. But if you're too busy describing the destination, you'll never actually get there. There's also a psychological aspect to this. When you share your plans with others, your brain registers their positive reactions as a reward. It's as though you've already accomplished something, even though you haven't. That little dopamine hit feels good in the moment, but it can make you less motivated to actually follow through. It's like scratching the surface of success without ever digging deep enough to find the real thing. And while it's tempting to keep chasing that feeling, it's ultimately empty. True accomplishment doesn't come from talking about what you're going to do, it comes from doing it. It's not just about avoiding the false sense of progress, though. It's also about keeping your focus sharp. When you talk about your plans too much, you invite distractions. People will have opinions, advice, and even questions that might make you second-guess yourself. They might suggest changes, point out challenges you hadn't considered, or simply redirect your attention to something else entirely. Even if their intentions are good, their input can pull you away from your original vision. And once your focus is scattered, it becomes harder to make meaningful progress. By keeping your plans to yourself, you protect your focus. You give yourself the freedom to work without interference, to stay aligned with your purpose, and to build momentum without interruptions. There's a quiet strength in letting your actions speak for you. When you focus on the work rather than the words, you create something that doesn't need to be explained. It simply exists, undeniable and real. When people see the results of your efforts, they'll understand the depth of your commitment, the hours you put in, and the obstacles you overcame. And that understanding will carry so much more weight than anything you could have said along the way. Focusing on action also teaches you discipline. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of talking about your plans, but it takes real self-control to channel that excitement into action instead. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's about making the choice every single day to prioritize the work over the words. It's about showing up, putting in the effort, and staying consistent, even when no one is watching and there's no applause to keep you going. That's where success is built, in the quiet moments, in the effort that no one sees. It's also worth considering the impact of surprising people with results rather than promises. When you talk too much about your plans, you create expectations. People start watching, waiting to see if you'll follow through, and while that might sound like motivation, it can also create pressure. That pressure can be paralyzing, making you more concerned with meeting others' expectations than staying true to your own goals. But when you focus on action instead of words, you eliminate that pressure. You give yourself the freedom to work at your own pace, to make mistakes, and to refine your approach without the weight of outside expectations. And when you're ready to reveal what you've been working on, the impact is that much greater. By keeping your plans private and focusing on the work, you shift the narrative from "here's what I'm going to do" to "here's what I've done." That shift is powerful. It's the difference between potential and reality, between intention and accomplishment, and in the end, it's the results that matter. Let your actions speak for you. Let the work you've done be the proof of your dedication, your focus, and your ability to follow through. That will always speak louder than words. There's something almost sacred about the early stages of a plan. It's fragile, delicate, and full of potential. At that point, your goals are still taking shape, and you're building the foundation for something you hope will grow into success. But when you share your plans too early, you risk exposing them to forces that can stunt their growth before they even get off the ground. It's like pulling a sapling out of the soil to show everyone, once it's uprooted, it struggles to survive. That's why it's so important to protect your plans during their most vulnerable phase. When an idea is fresh, it's not yet fortified with the strength of action. You're still exploring it, testing its possibilities, and figuring out how to bring it to life. Sharing it too soon invites opinions, doubts, and unsolicited advice that can derail you. People will tell you what they think, what they like, what they don't like, why it might not work, and all of that noise can shake your confidence. Instead of focusing on nurturing your plan, you get caught up in defending it or second-guessing yourself. Suddenly, the clarity you had when you started begins to blur. There's a natural tendency to want validation for your ideas, especially in the beginning. You might want to hear that you're on the right track or that someone else believes in your vision. But the truth is, seeking that validation too soon can actually weaken your resolve. When you rely on others to affirm your goals, you give them power over your motivation. If they're excited, you feel encouraged. But if they're skeptical or dismissive, it can deflate your enthusiasm. The strength of your vision should come from within, not from someone else's approval. And the best way to build that strength is by working in silence, letting your actions affirm your belief in what you're doing. Protecting your plans isn't about being secretive for the sake of it. It's about giving yourself the space to grow without unnecessary interference. In the early stages, you need freedom to experiment, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without the pressure of an audience. Sharing your plans too soon creates expectations, and those expectations can become a burden. Instead of focusing on what feels right for you, you start thinking about what others will think or how they'll react. That can push you to take shortcuts, rush the process, or even abandon your original vision altogether. There's also the risk of losing momentum when you share your plans prematurely. The energy you could be using to take action gets redirected into talking about your ideas or explaining them to others. It might feel like you're making progress, but in reality, you're standing still. Talking about your plans can give you a sense of accomplishment, but it's an illusion. Real momentum comes from doing the work, one step at a time, without getting distracted by outside opinions or the need to keep people updated on your progress. When you keep your plans to yourself, you're also protecting them from unnecessary scrutiny. Not everyone you share your goals with will have your best interests at heart. Some people might criticize your ideas out of jealousy, fear, or their own insecurities. Others might unintentionally discourage you by pointing out all the reasons something might not work. And even those who genuinely want to help might steer you in a direction that doesn't align with your vision. By keeping your plans private, you create a buffer between your goals and the outside world. You give yourself the opportunity to build a strong foundation before inviting others to weigh in. It's important to remember that your plans don't need to be perfect before you act on them, they just need to be yours. Protecting your vision isn't about isolating yourself or refusing to listen to anyone. It's about being intentional about who you share it with and when. Choose people who will support and challenge you in constructive ways, but even then, wait until your plan is strong enough to withstand outside input. That strength comes from taking action, from learning through experience, and from proving to yourself that you can follow through. The beauty of keeping your plans private is that it allows you to grow at your own pace. There's no rush to prove anything to anyone, no pressure to meet someone else's timeline, and no distractions pulling you away from your purpose. You can focus on what truly matters, taking the steps necessary to bring your vision to life. And when the time comes to share what you've been working on, you'll do so from a place of confidence and accomplishment, not from a need for validation. Your results will speak for themselves, and they'll carry a weight that no amount of words could ever achieve. Not everyone has your best interests at heart. It's a hard truth, but one that we all have to face at some point. When you openly share your plans with others, you're not just giving them information, you're handing over a piece of your vision, something that's deeply personal to you. And the truth is, not everyone will handle that with care. Some will respond with genuine support, but others may not. Some may unintentionally discourage you, while others might intentionally seek to undermine you. That's why it's so important to be discerning about who you share your dreams with. There are people who might seem supportive on the surface, but deep down, your ambition stirs something uncomfortable in them. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's fear, or maybe it's a reflection of something they wish they could do, but haven't. Whatever the reason, they might respond to your plans in ways that are subtly or overtly discouraging. It might come in the form of questions like, "Are you sure that's realistic?" Or, "What if it doesn't work out?" At first, Those questions might seem harmless, even well-meaning, but over time they can plant seeds of doubt in your mind. And once those seeds take root, they're hard to get rid of. Even worse, there are those who might actively work against you. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it's as subtle as a dismissive comment, an undermining remark, or a lack of enthusiasm when you share your ideas. But those moments can chip away at your confidence, especially if they come from people you trust or admire. Their doubts can start to feel like your doubts. Their lack of belief can start to feel like your own. And before you know it, the excitement and clarity you once felt about your plans begin to fade. It's not always about malice or ill intent, though. Sometimes people project their own fears and limitations onto you without even realizing it. They might say things like, "I just don't want you to get hurt," or "I'm only saying this because I care." And while their words might come from a place of love, they can still be damaging. Their fears are not your fears. Their limitations are not your limitations. But when you hear those doubts often enough, it's easy to internalize them. It's easy to start thinking, maybe they're right, maybe I can't do this. That's why it's so important to protect your plans from the influence of others until you're strong enough to withstand it. There's also the reality that not everyone sees the world the way you do. Your dreams and goals are a reflection of your unique perspective, your experiences, and your vision for the future. Expecting others to understand that fully is unrealistic. They might not see what you see, and that's okay. But it's also why sharing your plans too broadly can be risky. When people don't understand your vision, they might try to change it, to fit it into their own framework, or to steer you in a direction that doesn't align with your purpose. And if you're not careful, you might find yourself compromising your dreams to make them more palatable to others. When you keep your plans private, you're not just protecting them from negativity, you're also protecting them from dilution. You're giving yourself the freedom to pursue your vision as purely and authentically as possible, without outside influences shaping or altering it. You're staying true to yourself and your goals, and that's a powerful thing. It allows you to move forward with clarity and confidence, knowing that every step you take is aligned with your purpose. That doesn't mean you have to go it alone. There's a difference between being private and being isolated. It's okay to share your plans with a select few, people you trust implicitly, who have your best interests at heart, and who will support you in constructive ways. But even then, be mindful of when and how you share. Timing matters. Your plans need time to grow and develop before they're ready to face the world. And when you do decide to share them, make sure it's with people who will help you move forward, not hold you back. In the end, your dreams are your responsibility. It's up to you to nurture them, to protect them, and to bring them to life. Not everyone will understand them, and not everyone needs to. What matters is that you understand them, that you believe in them, and that you're willing to do the work to make them a reality. So be careful who you share your plans with. Choose your confidence wisely, and don't let anyone's doubts or insecurities dim your light. Protect your dreams, because they're worth it. Silence is powerful. There's something deeply profound about choosing not to speak, especially when it comes to your goals and ambitions. In a world where everyone feels the need to broadcast every detail of their lives, staying quiet about your plans can feel counterintuitive. But silence has a purpose. It's not about secrecy for the sake of secrecy. It's about maintaining focus, protecting your energy, and preserving the authenticity of your journey. When you keep your plans to yourself, you give them the space they need to grow without the noise, distractions, or interference of others. Talking about your plans, especially in their early stages, can sometimes dissipate the energy and momentum you need to make them happen. Words, no matter how well-intentioned, can often take the place of action. They give you a fleeting sense of accomplishment, a momentary thrill of sharing your excitement, but that feeling is hollow if it doesn't lead to tangible progress. Silence, on the other hand, keeps you grounded. It reminds you that your success doesn't depend on how many people know what you're doing. It depends on how much work you're willing to put in when no one is watching. When you choose silence, you also choose to work in peace. Without the noise of opinions, without the weight of expectations, and without the pressure of public scrutiny, you can focus entirely on the process. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone or justify your decisions. You don't have to deal with questions or doubts that might derail your momentum. Instead, you can channel all of your energy into the one thing that truly matters, taking the steps that will bring your vision to life. There's something freeing about knowing that your plans belong only to you. In silence, you have the space to make mistakes, to learn, and to adapt without fear of judgment. You don't have to worry about what anyone else thinks or whether you're living up to their expectations. You can focus on what feels right for you, on what aligns with your values and your vision. That kind of freedom is rare and it's powerful. It allows you to build something that's truly your own without compromise. Silence also builds resilience. When you keep your plans to yourself, you're forced to rely on your own inner strength and belief. There's no external validation to keep you motivated, no applause or praise to fuel your efforts. It's just you and your determination. And while that might sound daunting, it's actually a gift. It teaches you to trust yourself, to find motivation within, and to keep going even when the path gets tough. That resilience becomes the foundation of your success, the thing that carries you through challenges and setbacks. Another beauty of silence is the element of surprise. When you work quietly, when you let your actions speak instead of your words, the results are far more impactful. Instead of telling people what you're going to do, you show them what you've done. There's a certain power in that, a power that comes from letting your achievements speak for themselves. It's not about seeking approval or validation. It's about the quiet confidence of knowing you've put in the work and accomplished something meaningful. The world is full of noise. Everyone is trying to be seen, to be heard, to prove themselves in one way or another. But true power lies in the ability to step away from that noise, to focus inward, and to let your actions do the talking. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a choice to prioritize substance over show, progress over praise, and authenticity over approval. It's a reminder that your journey is yours alone, and you don't owe anyone